The sun hung low over the rolling fields as James Parker stepped out onto the porch of his farmhouse, a steaming cup of coffee in his hand. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of fresh-cut hay and the distant sound of cattle in the pasture. For years, this land had been his sanctuary, a quiet, peaceful retreat from the chaos of the outside world. But that peace had been shattered ever since Karen moved in next door. Karen Monroe was the kind of neighbor every small-town resident feared. She came from the city, bought the most expensive house in the area, and immediately started acting like she ran the place. Within weeks of moving in, she had formed an unofficial homeowners association with a handful of other newcomers, even though there was no legal HOA in their rural neighborhood. And now she was targeting James and his property. It started with minor complaints. His tractor was too noisy, his cows smelled bad, and his rooster crowed too early in the morning. James mostly ignored her nonsense, but then she set her sights on his old barn. The structure had been on his property for nearly a century, and though it was still standing, it was well past its prime. James had already planned to demolish it within the next few weeks, having gotten all the necessary permits. But before he could get around to it, Karen did something that left him absolutely stunned. As James walked toward the barn that morning, something seemed off. His dusty, weather-worn structure now had twinkling fairy lights strung across its beams, white drapes hanging from the rafters, and rows of perfectly aligned chairs facing an altar at the front. His old barn had been transformed into a full-blown wedding venue. His confusion quickly turned to anger when he spotted Karen standing near the entrance, giving instructions to a group of workers. "What the hell is going on here?" James demanded, his voice cutting through the morning air. Karen turned, her expression shifting from smug satisfaction to feigned surprise. "Oh, James, I was meaning to talk to you about this," she said, waving a manicured hand. "You see, your barn was just sitting here unused, and I thought, why let it go to waste? This community desperately needed a wedding venue, and I took the initiative." James stared at her, his jaw tightening. "You took the initiative on my asterisk property." Karen sighed dramatically, as if he were being unreasonable. "Oh, don't be so territorial, James. I assumed you'd be thrilled asterisk. You'll be compensated, of course." She gestured toward a clipboard where she had written up some ridiculous rental agreement, without his consent. James clenched his fists, his blood boiling. Karen had taken over his barn, booked weddings without his permission, and was now acting like he was the unreasonable one. But as angry as he was, a slow, knowing smile spread across his face. Karen had no idea that the barn she had turned into her precious wedding venue was already scheduled for demolition. And James wasn't about to stop it. James took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. Losing his temper wouldn't do him any good, not yet anyway. Instead, he crossed his arms and gave Karen a level stare. "So let me get this straight. You waltzed onto my property, turned my barn into a wedding venue without asking, booked events, and now you're telling me I should be asterisk grateful." Karen laughed, a light, airy sound that made James' skin crawl. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, James. It's not like you were using asterisk it. I've actually improved the property value." She gestured proudly at the decorations, as if string lights and a few white curtains had magically restored the structure. "And it's not just for me asterisk. It's for the asterisk community asterisk. You should asterisk be honored." James exhaled slowly, rubbing his temples. "And what exactly did you tell these couples who booked weddings here?" Karen beamed, clearly thinking she had everything under control. "Oh, it's been such a asterisk, huge asterisk hit. The first wedding is next weekend, then another the week after, and I already have asterisk 5 asterisk more inquiries for the summer. Just imagine James Parker Farm weddings. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" James chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "You're insane." Karen's smile faltered. "Excuse me." "You heard me," James said, stepping forward. "This barn is condemned. I have asterisk permits asterisk to tear it down. In fact, demolition was already scheduled. So whatever little business plan you cooked up, you can forget about it." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Demolition?" she repeated, as if the word was foreign to her. "No, no, 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 that won't work, James. You can't just tear it down. I've already put down deposits. People are asterisk counting on this." James let out a sharp laugh. I can't tear it down. Lady, I own it. You didn't bother to ask Asterisk before hijacking my barn, so I don't see why I should care about your deposits. Corinne's expression darkened. Now listen here, James, she said, dropping her fake charm. I know you're used to running things Asterisk your way out here in the middle of nowhere, but Asterisk have done something Asterisk good for this town. If you so much as think about tearing this barn down, I will make your life very Asterisk difficult. The entire Asterisk community will be against you. James raised an eyebrow. You mean the same community that never agreed to your fake HOA? Corinne bristled but quickly covered it up with another saccharine smile. I will find a way to stop you. James smirked, tipping his hat. Good luck with that. As he walked away, he could hear Corinne furiously whispering into her phone. He didn't know who she was calling. Maybe one of her gullible followers, maybe some lawyer she thought could scare him. But it didn't matter. The barn was Asterisk coming down. And now, James was going to make sure Corinne got Asterisk front row seats to watch it happen. Over the next few days, Corinne went into full-blown damage control. James watched with amusement as she scrambled to keep her unauthorized business afloat. She had clearly convinced herself that if she just pushed hard enough, she could stop him from demolishing the barn. First came the flyers. Corinne had them plastered all over town, on bulletin boards, lamp posts, even taped to the door of the local diner. Save the community wedding venue, stop the demolition. It read in big, dramatic letters. It was almost impressive how she made it sound like James was some heartless villain rather than the Asterisk actual owner of the barn she had stolen for her little scheme. Then came the online petition. Corinne had put together a dramatic post in the neighborhood Facebook group, calling James a selfish landowner who was destroying a beloved new community space. The comment section was a battlefield. Half the town mocked Corinne for her entitlement, while the other half, mostly her HOA wannabe friends, sang her praises. James wasn't worried. He had lived here his entire life. The Asterisk real Asterisk community, the farmers, ranchers, and longtime residents knew the truth. Corinne's noise wouldn't change anything. But Corinne wasn't done yet. James was loading feed into the back of his truck when he spotted her marching up his driveway, dragging along a stiff-looking man in a suit. James Parker, Corinne snapped, coming to a halt in front of him. This is Mr. Reynolds, a lawyer who specializes in property disputes. James wiped his hands on his jeans and gave the man a nod. Property disputes, huh? That's interesting considering there's no Asterisk dispute Asterisk. This is my land, my barn, and it's scheduled for demolition. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat. Mr. Parker, my client has. She is not your client, James cut in. Because I know for a Asterisk fact that Corinne doesn't have any legal claim to my property. Corinne huffed. This is about Asterisk community interests, James. You can't just bulldoze something that people are relying on. James tilted his head. You mean the couples you tricked into thinking this was a legitimate venue, the ones you took money from without actually owning the place? Corinne's face twitched, but she quickly recovered. I was Asterisk helping you, James. If you had any Asterisk sense, you'd see the potential. This barn could be a Asterisk gold mine. James leaned against his truck, crossing his arms. And let me guess, you expected a cut of the profits. Corinne stiffened. I organized everything. Of course I should be compensated, but instead of showing gratitude, you're being unreasonable. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat again, looking uncomfortable. Mr. Parker, would you be open to a financial arrangement to keep the barn standing? Ms. Monroe is willing to handle all business aspects, and in return, you'd receive a share of the profits. James laughed, a deep, genuine laugh. You really think I'd go into business with Asterisk or Asterisk? He shook his head, then clapped a hand on the lawyer's shoulder. Sorry, buddy, but this barn's coming down. You should tell your Asterisk client to start refunding those deposits. Corinne's face turned red with rage. You Asterisk can't Asterisk do this, James. James smiled. Oh, I can Asterisk, and I will Asterisk. He turned and walked away, leaving Corinne fuming in his driveway. The demolition crew was coming soon. And Karen had no idea that James had something extra planned to make sure she got exactly what she deserved. James spent the next few days preparing for the big event. The demolition crew was already scheduled, but now he had an even better idea, one that would make sure Karen got exactly what she had coming. He had spoken to a few locals who had unknowingly booked weddings through Karen's little scheme, and their reactions had ranged from outrage to outright panic. Apparently, Karen had been charging ridiculous prices, collecting non-refundable deposits, and making promises she couldn't keep. Now that James had made it clear the barn was coming down, those couples were demanding their money back. Karen, of course, refused to admit she had done anything wrong. Instead, she doubled down, insisting that James was the real problem. She even tried calling the mayor, hoping to use some kind of historical preservation nonsense to halt the demolition. That didn't go over well. The mayor's wife happened to be James' cousin, and she was not a fan of Karen. By now, Karen was getting desperate. She had to stop the demolition at any cost but James wasn't going to let that happen. The day before the demolition, he called up a few friends from town, people who had been dealing with Karen's entitled nonsense for months. He explained his plan, and it didn't take much convincing to get them on board. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, James stood in his yard, watching Karen's house from a distance. Sure enough, he saw her packing on her porch, barking orders over the phone, probably trying to find some last-minute legal loophole to stop him. She had no idea what was coming. James smiled to himself. Tomorrow, Karen's little wedding empire was going to come crashing down, literally. And best of all, he was going to make sure she had front-row seats for the show. The morning of the demolition arrived bright and clear. James was up early, sipping his coffee as he watched the crew set up. A few large excavators sat near the barn, ready to tear it down. Several neighbors had gathered along the fence line, eager to watch the spectacle unfold. News had spread quickly about Karen's outrageous stunt, and no one wanted to miss the moment she got what she deserved. James had made sure that Karen would have no excuse to avoid the event. The night before, he had left a formal notice in her mailbox. Nothing official, just a polite reminder that the barn would be coming down at exactly noon, and that anyone with concerns should be present. He even threw in some fancy legal jargon to make it sound important. Sure enough, at 11:45 a.m., Karen stormed onto his property, her phone clutched in a death grip. "This isn't over, James," she screeched before she even reached him. "I will put a stop to this." James took a slow sip of his coffee. "Oh yeah, how exactly?" Karen shoved her phone toward his face. "I've called the county office and they're reviewing whether you legally obtained the demolition permits. You can't do anything until they finish their investigation." James smirked. "You mean the same permits I got months ago, the ones that were already verified by the county last week?" He pulled a folded document from his pocket and held it up. "I checked with them this morning. Everything's good to go." Karen's face paled for half a second before she regained her composure. That doesn't matter. You have a moral obligation to this community. People are depending on this venue. I will personally sue you for damages if you go through with this." James chuckled. "You mean the damages from your scam? You con people into paying for weddings in a barn you don't own. That's on you Karen." Karen's eye twitched. "You're making a huge mistake." James checked his watch. "You might want to step back. We're starting in 5 minutes." Karen's mouth dropped open. "You can't. I forbid you." James grinned. "Oh, you forbid me. That's cute." He turned to the demolition crew and gave a nod. With a loud beep, the first excavator roared to life. The driver maneuvered it forward, raising the massive claw. The crowd murmured in anticipation. Karen's eyes went wide as she finally realized this was actually happening. "No," she shrieked, but it was too late. With a deafening crack, the first support beam snapped. The roof groaned, sagging dangerously. Dust and splinters filled the air as the walls buckled. Corinne let out a strangled cry, clutching her head as her precious wedding venue collapsed like a house of cards. But James wasn't done yet. Just as the last of the barn caved in, something else happened. Something Corinne really hadn't expected. Out of the wreckage, a massive ** cloud of dust and debris * surged forward, right in Corinne's direction. Corinne barely had time to scream before the thick plume engulfed * her, coating her from head to toe in dirt, sawdust, and what James suspected was a generous amount of old barn insulation. The crowd burst into laughter as Corinne staggered back, coughing and flailing her arms. Her once pristine white blouse was now a filthy mess, her expensive hairstyle ruined. James leaned casually against his truck, watching the disaster unfold. "Well, Corinne," he called over the laughter, "looks like your venue is officially closed for business." For a moment there was complete silence, except for Corinne's wheezing coughs as she tried to shake the dust and debris from her clothes. Then the crowd erupted into laughter. Neighbors clapped, some even whistled, and James could hear a few folks muttering things like, "Well, she had it coming." Corinne, however, was not amused. She staggered forward, her face twisted in pure rage. Her once crisp white blouse was now a dirty, tattered mess, and her perfectly curled hair was speckled with dust, insulation, and what might have been a stray piece of hay. Her eyes locked onto James like a predator about to strike. "You," she shrieked, pointing a shaking, dust-covered finger at him. "You did * this on purpose." James shrugged, taking another slow sip of his coffee. "You mean tearing down my own barn *? Yeah, Corinne, that was the plan." Corinne stomped her foot, sending up another small cloud of dust from her clothes. "You think this is * funny? Do you have any * idea what you've done?" James tilted his head. "Oh, I think I do. Let's see. I tore down a barn that I own, which you illegally turned into a wedding venue without my permission. You took people's money under false pretenses, and now that your little scam has fallen apart, you're trying to pin it on me. That about sum it up." Corinne's mouth flapped open and closed like a fish gasping for air. "You don't understand," she finally screeched. "People have weddings booked here, deposits have been paid, I invested * in this. You've ruined * everything." James smirked. "Oh, I * understand just fine, but let me ask you * something, Corinne. How exactly were you planning to run a wedding venue inside a condemned barn?" Corinne froze. James could see it, the exact moment reality finally sank in. Corinne stood there, frozen, as realization dawned on her dust-covered face. James could practically see * the gears turning in her head as she finally grasped the full extent of her mistake. The barn had never been a safe venue. It had been a ticking time bomb. If James hadn't gone through with the demolition, one of her so-called events could have ended in disaster. But instead of admitting her mistake, Corinne did what Corinne did best. * blamed everyone but herself. "This is * your * fault, James," she screeched, flailing her arms wildly. "You could have * worked with me. We could have made this an * actual * business. But no, you had to be selfish *. Now I'm out thousands * of dollars." James raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you mean the money you scammed out of people?" He smirked. "I hear a lot of folks are pretty unhappy with you right now. Maybe you should worry less about me and more about how you're gonna refund all those deposits." Corinne's face turned an impressive shade of red. That's," she stammered before snapping her mouth shut. The crowd was eating it up. A few of James' friends were chuckling, and one of the local farmers leaned toward his wife, whispering loud enough for everyone to hear, "Bet she doesn't have a * dime to pay those folks back." His wife snorted in agreement. Corinne whipped around, glaring at the onlookers. "This is * funny. I have lawyers. I'll * sue * for damages." James laughed outright at that. "Damages? Corinne, you built a * fake business in a barn you didn't own, and now you're mad because it collapsed, literally. You don't have a case, but I * know * for a fact that a few couples are already talking about suing you *. Corinne stiffened. They wouldn't dare. James shrugged. Well, if I were you, I'd start checking my emails. Pretty sure at least a few of them are demanding refunds right now, asterisk. As if on cue, Corinne's phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down and her face paled. Then it buzzed again and again. The crowd murmured, catching on to what was happening. James didn't even have to see the screen to know exactly what the messages said. Refund requests, legal threats, angry customers realizing they'd been conned. Corinne let out a strangled sound before shoving her phone into her purse. I have to go, she muttered, spinning on her heel. She tried to march off with dignity, but the layer of dust covering her clothes and the bits of debris still clinging to her hair made it impossible. The sight of her stomping away in complete humiliation was asterisk glorious asterisk. As she disappeared down the road, one of the neighbors let out a low whistle. "Welp," he said, shaking his head. "That's the best entertainment I've seen in a long time." James grinned, glad I could put on a show. And with that, the last pieces of the old barn were cleared away, and Corinne Monroe's short-lived wedding empire crumbled into nothing, just like the barn itself. With the barn reduced to a pile of rubble and Corinne's scam exposed, James finally felt a sense of peace returning to his land. The demolition crew finished clearing the site by late afternoon, and by sunset, the only thing left of the so-called wedding venue was an empty patch of dirt. Neighbors stuck around for a while, exchanging stories about Corinne's antics and laughing about her dramatic exit. A few even offered to bring over some beers later to celebrate the official end of Corinne's nonsense. James gladly accepted. Meanwhile, Corinne had gone radio silent. She wasn't posting in the community Facebook group. She wasn't sending out passive-aggressive emails. She wasn't even outside trying to rally her fake HOA members. For the first time since she moved in, she was completely quiet. James figured she was busy scrambling to deal with the fallout, probably getting bombarded with refund requests, legal threats, and demands for explanations. A few days later, word spread that at least 3 couples had filed actual lawsuits against Corinne. One of them had spent nearly $10,000 on deposits for catering, florals, and photography, all based on Corinne's promise that the barn was a fully functioning venue. Now, they were holding her responsible for their lost money. James could only imagine the meltdown she must have been having behind closed doors. By the end of the week, Corinne finally emerged, but she was a shell of her former self. She no longer marched around the neighborhood, barking orders and trying to enforce her fake HOA rules. Instead, she avoided eye contact with everyone, her posture stiff, her usual smugness gone asterisk. James happened to run into her at the local grocery store one afternoon. She was in the checkout line, frantically scrolling through her phone, her face twisted in frustration. When she finally glanced up and saw James standing behind her, she stiffened. He gave her a friendly nod. "Corinne's." She forced a tight smile. "James." Her voice was strained, like she was barely holding it together. He gestured toward her phone. "More refund requests." Her eye twitched. "I don't want to talk about it." James chuckled. "Suit yourself." He grabbed a pack of gum and tossed it onto the conveyor belt. "But hey, I've got to hand it to you. You sure know how to liven up a small town." Corinne let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "I hate this place," she muttered under her breath. James smirked. "Well, you could always move." For a moment, she looked like she might explode. But then, instead of snapping back at him, she just clenched her jaw, grabbed her groceries, and marched out of the store without another word. James watched her go, shaking his head. He had a feeling it wouldn't be long before she packed up and left for good. And sure enough, within a month, a for sale sign appeared in front of Corinne's house. James stood on his porch the day she drove away, watching as she loaded the last of her things into her car. She didn't wave. She didn't look back. She just sped off down the road, disappearing in a cloud of dust. With a satisfied sigh, James took a sip of his coffee. The land was his again. No more entitled Corinne, no more fake wedding venue, no more ridiculous HOA nonsense. Just peace, quiet, and a whole lot of well-earned satisfaction. Life was good.